Animation constraints can be thought of as dynamic parenting, where we can assign a parent on or off, and we can use it in our animation timeline. So this is an introduction to animation constraints in Unreal Engine.
My name's MX Bell and I work on all these things, and I'm here to teach you how to make films in Unreal Engine. Welcome to Realtime Workflows.
Right, welcome back to Realtime Workflows. I spent the last couple of weeks talking about constraints without actually thinking about. I never told you guys if I was the only YouTube channel that you watched about Unreal Engine, which I'm sure I'm not. I haven't actually told you what constraints are, so my bad. Let's cover it now. So, a constraint is effectively dynamic parenting. We can think of it as an attachment like we might use in the engine already. So, for example, we might attach this baseball to our character's body and hand, right? So that's what we want, and it's set over there because it's already had to transform applied, which we can consider an offset, and if we were just to hit that, it would go basically to where the root of this attachment is, okay? So it's probably not the best place for it anyway, but that's how an attachment works. The problem with an attachment is it's kind of either on or off, you know? It's not the best thing for animation. So we don't want an attachment. What we want to do is create a constraint. Now the simple way to find these are in animation mode and under constraints. And we can see here there's a constraint tab, and what we're going to do is we're going to have this character pick up the ball and then throw it. So the attachment is off to start with, and then on, and then off again. So how to attach the constraint? First of all, let's come to the frame where we want it on, right? So we'll come down here and let's see. It's going to be a frame like that, I would think. I've obviously specifically positioned the ball where I want it. I actually think we'll do that. That looks pretty good, all right? So let's say on frame 23, we're going to set a constraint. Now, what you set the constraint to is up to you. If you want it constrained to the hand, which is probably a good idea, you could constrain it to the hand control if you're using animation controls. We could choose it and then hit this and it chooses that control. Or we can come in here and browse to it. So we could go miles. And obviously, if we wanted to have the joint, this is something we would do. So we would go body and hand, and then hand R, and that chooses the joint itself. Now, why might you choose the joint? Well, you might choose the joint because we might get rid of that control rig. We might bake this animation down, and you might still want to have that constraint on. And so if it's into the joint, it's going to stay valid. And so what we can do then is we can then select our object that we want to constrain, because we've pre-selected our parent, and then we're going to add, and we're going to go to parent, and we should always click this button to double check what the settings are. We can use current offset and maintain offset. They can stay on, and we can just, and you see here we've got this creation time is current frame, which is useful, and we just hit create. So now the ball is there, and then it is picked up, and it is really that simple. So we've picked it up, picked the ball up, and now we need to set an off frame. Okay, so where's our off frame? It's probably going to be, let's take a look here. It's probably going to be somewhere here. And let's say here. All right. Now to turn it off, we're going to choose this keyframe button here, which is now put it in place, but it's turned it off. So now the hand will continue without. And so what we can do now is we can just come to our transform, and we've got a keyframe on this one here. And so we're just going to think, how fast would it start to move now? Probably quite fast. So we probably would want to have linear keys on, so we can open this in the sequence of curves, and we probably want to have these keys here set to linear. Let's go transform location. These ones set to linear because it's maintaining its speed as it comes out. It's actually kind of probably gaining speed a little bit there. This could be obviously refined. I'm not trying to create a finished animation right now, but and we'll set this to my favorite thing, as we all know, infinite, and then we can kind of see what we get out of it. Whoops. So if we come here now and go back to the start. There we go. Nice and easy. A nice, simple animation with constraints. Okay, that ball is continuing off into the distance. So let's talk about some nuances of the constraint system and what some of the other constraints do. So in this instance, if we wanted to constrain the second baseball to the hand via a different system, here's what it might look like. We could choose a translation constraint that will just take the translation keys and it won't rotate. All right. We could do the opposite, just take the rotation and not the translation. And we could do scale. And the thing about scale is it's not covered in the parent constraint. So parent constraints do translation and rotation together, but don't do scale. So if you need to constrain scale, you have to use a dedicated scale constraint for it. And a look at constraint, we call in previous iterations of 3D software like Maya, we would call an aim constraint. The one in Unreal Engine is actually quite robust. Let's create a camera. And this is just an example of how to create a look at constraint. So create a camera. Right, I'm gonna go to here. Let's do this. Let's go send a camera and let's come to perspective here. So here's our camera view. This is just how a look at constraint works. So let's say I want to create a look at constraint at the baseball itself. So I'm going to choose the baseball as the parent, and then I'm going to take the camera and go add a look at. Use current. I'm changing it to be from start. So it's the whole shot. And now we can see that the camera just stays focused on the ball. Okay, and that's what a look at constraint does. Okay, that was a quick intro to constraints in Unreal Engine. I'll see you on the next one.